Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to take one of those political compass tests, or I guess in this case, one of those political typology tests. Who knows if these things are accurate or how this is going to go, but it should be a bit of fun. Be sure to comment down below what you agree with or disagree with. I respond to every comment, and also leave your results down below. And one more thing before we get started, thank you guys so much for 50 subscribers. I really enjoy making videos, so if you'd like to see more in the future, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, question 1. If you had to choose, would you rather have a smaller government providing fewer services or a bigger government providing more services? So this might come as a shock to a lot of you because I'm conservative, but I'd actually go with a bigger government providing more services. When I hear a bigger government, I immediately think healthcare, and I might be the only person on the right who's actually done the research and come to the conclusion that single-payer healthcare is the best way forward. But I do actually believe in that. I have a whole video on it, but just a summary, it's not just free healthcare. You can't just say, okay, guys, we're going to spend this amount of money and everyone's healthcare is going to be free. You need to start by building infrastructure like institutions to educate doctors and nurses. And then you can build facilities. And then when that's done in the future, you can then implement actually free healthcare. Not only would it be cheaper than our current system, but you'd create so many jobs. But I digress. I also think infrastructure and VA programs when I think bigger government. And we already pay extremely high taxes, way higher taxes than our founding fathers revolted against. And since we already pay those high taxes, we might as well get something out of it, right? And the next part of this question is, when you say you favor a bigger government providing more services, do you think it would be modestly expand on current government services or greatly expand on current government services? I would say greatly expand on current government services. Like I said, we need free healthcare, better infrastructure, a better VA, psych centers, hospitals. So we definitely need a larger reach of government services, but the funds need to be reallocated. We can't just spend government service money on immigrants, immigration, things like that when we have citizens who are veterans or people living within our own country that need to receive these services. Question 2. Which of the following statements comes closest to your view? America's openness to people from all over the world is essential. Yeah, I already know I'll be picking the second one. We completely risk losing our identity. I'm for a complete immigration moratorium, so I absolutely believe immigration in any capacity is harmful to our nation. We're just at a point where we do not need more labor, more welfare recipients, more job competition. When unemployment goes to zero and birth rates fall far enough, then we can talk about immigration. But right now, it's just not even necessary. In general, would you say experts who study a subject for many years are usually better at making good policy decisions about that subject than other people, usually worse at making good policy decisions about that subject than other people, and neither better nor worse? This seems just like a liberal bait question where, if you answer that you don't believe in experts, you're automatically a conservative. But I mean, come on, guys. The experts should have more knowledge on topics than somebody who just formed their opinion on social media, so usually better. Question 4, thinking about increased trade of goods and services between the U.S. and other nations in recent decades, would you say that the U.S. has gained more than it has lost because increased trade has helped lower prices and increased the competitiveness of some U.S. businesses, or lost more than it has gained because increased trade has cost jobs in manufacturing and other industries and lowered wages for some U.S. workers? See, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you, Pure Research. I'm generally a supporter of free markets, of course, but we have to be honest about globalization and what it's done to the American industry. A lot of manufacturing jobs have been shipped overseas because companies could obviously produce things cheaper in China or Vietnam or India. And I think it's completely reasonable to support strong protectionism if it means that we're going to keep American jobs, American factories, and American economic power domestically, as opposed to just shipping it abroad. So yes, things might be more expensive, but the well-being of our nation is going to be better off. So obviously, I'm a nationalist. That's what I would prefer. Question 5. How much more, if anything, needs to be done to ensure equal rights for all Americans, regardless of racial or ethnic backgrounds? Yeah, nothing at all here. The law already guarantees equal protection to everybody. And once again, this seems like another bait question, but if you can find me a court where racism persists against minorities, let me know. But when you look at affirmative action and DEI initiatives, to me, those are completely unequal, regardless of racial or ethnic backgrounds. So maybe I should put a lot, but we're going to stick with nothing at all. Okay, question 6. Which of the following statements comes closest to your view? Business corporations make too much profit, or most corporations make a fair and reasonable amount of profit. Obviously, I would say business corporations make too much profit. And listen, I completely understand that transnational corporations have probably lifted millions, if not billions, of people out of poverty. They've increased our way of life, how long we live, our health. But you'd have to be stupid to root for corporations to make more money. A lot of large companies like Amazon, for example, they wouldn't hesitate to fire you for an H-1B visa so they can pay half your wage. Or they'll just completely move production overseas. Companies prioritize global profits over the well-being of American workers and communities literally every day. So yes, they make too much money, but also laws need to be put in place to protect American workers. For example, our government should probably buy not so much as a paperclip from another country, or at least the paperclip should be manufactured in the United States. And I do have a video soon, actually, about this, but companies that aren't headquartered in the USA, and if they have a majority of foreign workers, they should not be listed on any of our stock exchanges. Why should these companies be entitled to American capital if they aren't manufactured here, or they aren't headquartered here and their manufacturing isn't here and they're not employing Americans? So that's something for another video. Question 7. How much, if at all, would it bother you to regularly hear people speak a language other than English in public spaces? I would say a lot, honestly. I have no problem with people who speak a different language or speak a different language at home or in their community. But the de facto language of our country is English. The Constitution was written in English. Our laws should be strictly written in English, and any tests or driver's license or anything like that should be exclusively in English. I know we don't have a national language, but it would be a lot easier if everything was in English. And this isn't something that's common, that happens all the time. But if you go somewhere and no one speaks English, it definitely is annoying. And that's happened to me before. Check out my video on Pollo Tropical. Moving forward, question 8. On a scale of 1, this is where it gets fun. On a scale of 0 to 100, where 0 means you feel as cold as possible and negative as possible, and 100 means you feel as warm and positive as possible, how do you feel toward Democrats? That is a 0. The foundation of the Democratic Party is literally socialism, or at least very much geared towards a more centralized government. And if you paid any attention in civics class, you know the basic divide between the Republicans and Democrats is the debate on the size of government. Obviously, Republicans generally believe that the government should be limited, and Democrats believe the government should play a bigger role in regulating the economy, providing social programs, social welfare. And that's really just the fundamental difference. But I already spoke about expanding certain government programs like single-payer healthcare. But what I don't agree with is having the government control your existence. And better yet, funneling my tax dollars to lazy people who can leech off the government. And from my perspective, when government keeps expanding, it starts moving closer to systems where the state controls more and more aspects of the economy and then more and more aspects of your everyday life. And not to mention the Democrats' stance on social issues, where it seems, liberals want to promote you for being part of a minority. It's complete equity. It's complete nonsense. So I feel a 0 towards Democrats. Now, how do I feel towards Republicans? I'm going to go lower half. I'll go with a 20, between a 20 and a 30. And this one's interesting because I am called right or wing. I'm a registered Republican. But for that reason, I want a better, stronger right wing, right? But modern day Republicans, they fall completely short. They don't say a word on demographic replacement. They promised mass deportations. We haven't seen that. No politicians have been arrested for any of the fraud going on in our country. Not to mention the Iran war on Israel's behalf. It's just a complete betrayal of the base. Also not, nuking the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act. I could just go on and on. But, I feel like my account is here to highlight the differences between what Republicans are now and the America First position that we want. And I mean, it's funny because like what Trump 2015 was when he ran 2016, what he spoke about in 2015, 2016 is exactly what we wanted to see, but we just haven't got it. So hopefully that changes. Question 9. Which of these best describes your opinion about the United States? I'll just be picking the first one. The U.S. stands above all other countries. We are the greatest country to ever exist. Unparalleled power, strength, influence on democracy or innovation, universities, sports, movies, music, you name it. And I have plenty of videos on American exceptionalism, so we'll keep it on that. Question 10. How much of a problem, if any, would you say each of the following are in the country today? People being too easily offended by things others say. Definitely a major problem. And people saying things that are very offensive to others, not a problem at all. Hate speech should be legal as long as it doesn't incite violence or anything like that. And you should be able to literally say whatever you want. Like in England, the fact that you can go to jail for saying something inappropriate is absolutely ridiculous. And if we just go down that rabbit hole of, okay, let's limit speech here, who knows what the government's going to deem as hate speech or inappropriate speech, right? So why would you give that power to the government? I think it's absolutely ridiculous to get offended over things people say and to want to go a step further and legislate what people can say. That's ridiculous. Question 11. Which comes closer to your view of candidates for political office, even if neither is exactly right? I usually feel like there is at least one candidate who shares my views, and none of the candidates represent my views. I would say none of the candidates represent my views. Like I said before, Trump 2015 is probably the most I've ever felt aligned with a candidate. James Fishback, who's running for Florida governor right now, is also someone who I can fully get behind. But the fact remains, once Trump got elected, he became just another Republican. And Fishback is fighting an uphill battle against the establishment in Florida, and they're just pouring millions and millions into the Byron Donalds campaign. But we'll see. I mean, in this scenario, then I guess there would be a candidate out there for Florida governor who does represent my views. However, if we're talking, presidential races, Trump represented my views, but then he goes and he doesn't fulfill any of the campaign promises. So I would say none of the candidates at this point in time, nobody represents my views very well. In general, how much do white people benefit from advantages in societies that blacks do not have? I would say not at all. Once again, this is ridiculous, and I also think it's complete bait or race pandering. And to be honest with you, I think race should not even be pointed out at all. As long as you're an American, all power to you, whatever you look like. And I think the way Democrats treat minorities as votes, and they lie to them, and they tell them that they're disenfranchised, and for example, with the SAVE Act, saying that minorities aren't smart enough to get a driver's license, it's just ridiculous. It's just race baiting. Question 13. Do you think greater social acceptance of people who are transgender is, definitely very bad for society? Transgenderism is a fetish, and not to mention, it's, a lot of times this illusion begins as kids because parents are telling their kids they were born into the wrong body or they were assigned the wrong gender. And I mean, look at the shootings we've had recently, a while back, the Nashville church, and recently at that hockey game. The rates are through the roof for suicide, dysmorphia. The effects of transgenderism are absolutely terrible on the individual. So we need to stop promoting this as a society. We need to move past this. Question 14. Overall, would you say people who are convicted of crimes in this country serve too little time in prison? This is the topic I probably care the most about, this and freedom of speech. And I just think the government's job really is to protect us in many cases. And yet entire cities have become like laboratories for failed social experiments. We have no cash bail. You can commit 70 odd crimes and still get released and then go on to commit more crimes. We have people who steal from stores, and the stores have no chase policies. There's cities that they find it too trivial or costly to prosecute minor crimes. They won't enforce broken windows policies. And then if you defend yourself in one of these areas, you're the one charged with assault or manslaughter or whatever it is, like Daniel Penny, you're the one charged with the crime. So yeah, criminals, especially violent ones, they need to be behind bars as long as possible. And, people will comment, oh, our incarceration rates. I understand our incarceration rates are high, the highest in the world. But this isn't El Salvador where we put anybody with a tattoo behind bars. Like, we're putting criminals in jail. We have criminals who have committed crimes and they need to be punished. And that's the end of story. You could talk about rehabilitation programs all you want. But if you do something wrong, especially a violent crime, or, you're destroying a community, you're destroying a society, you need to be separated from that community and or society immediately and for a long time. Question 15, only 2 left. Which of the following statements comes closest to your view? Religion should be kept separate from government policies, and government policies should support religious values and beliefs. Most, if not all, Western society is built on biblical principles. So we already have religious influence on politics. But with that being said, the government should act on reason, and personal life should be left up to a choice of reason or faith or both, right? And I think that the government policies should reflect the will of the people, and your religious prerogative should be kept separate from that. So I would say religion should be kept separate from government policies. And the 16th and final question, in the future, do you think U.S. policies should try to keep it so America is the only military superpower? It would be acceptable if another country became militarily as powerful as the United States. So on this one, I would say that U.S. policies should try to keep it so America is the only military superpower. Like I said before, we're already the most powerful and exceptional nation. And due to this, the Western Hemisphere, we've been prosperous and protected from attack for decades now. So it is in our best interest to remain the strongest military power. If we really wanted to, the United States could probably become imperialist and subjugate, a ton of other countries and enslave them. But of course we don't, right? We have the power to, but we don't. We show restraint. But if China or Russia were the world's sole superpower, I'm not sure that you'd be, able to say the same thing. I would say that probably they would exploit other countries and they would subjugate them and there would be atrocities. So I think we should probably stay as the only military power. And let's hit submit and let's see our score. All right, my best fit is ambivalent right, along with 12% of the public. So as you can see, right to the side of moderates. And that's where it ended up placing me. These tests, they can be interesting, but I think a lot of the questions were completely bait. I also think that I would probably put myself out here, far right. I am an American nationalist. I think the only way to get far right on tests like this is to be a Christian nationalist. As you can see, faith and flag conservatives. So, that's a problem with a lot of the political tests, especially the regular political compass test that everyone takes. It skews you left. But it is what it is. It was still a bit of fun and a cool way to visualize roughly where I fall politically. Thanks again, guys, for watching the video. That's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for helping this channel reach 50 subscribers. And if you want to see more videos like this, political breakdowns, reaction content, just fun things like taking a political compass test, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks, guys.